Now, it's been a year since I last spoke to the founder and chief executive of biopharmaceutical group Hemogenyx Pharmaceuticals. I am delighted, 12 months on, to be joined by Dr. Vladislav Sandler. So, Vlad, last time we spoke to you, it was all about that the most important catalyst for hemo is clinical trials, and you were progressing the investigational new drug application for the treatment of acute myeloid leukemia. You submitted it to the US Food and Drug Administration in May. But 1 month on, we learn that the FDA has placed a clinical hold on the IND. Now, would you explain to us why the FDA made this decision, whether it was unexpected, and they did so really quickly?
Thank you, Sarah. It's good to see you. It's good to be interviewed by you again. Right. So while we are obviously disappointed to receive the clinical hold from the Food and Drug Administration, we also know that clinical holds are not uncommon. And what's the key is that we feel confident that we can fulfill the FDA's requests, and of course we aim to do this as expeditiously as possible so we can move ahead into clinical trials. Regarding the speed of the clinical hold, it wasn't fast, it was right on time, because a typical schedule is 30 days within 30 days of the IND submission. FDA has a chance to either stop, put a clinical hold, or basically allow the sponsor to go into the clinic. So we got this letter of clinical hold right on time, pretty much on, I think, 29th day, because the 30th day was Saturday.
Okay, I understand. So I'm just wondering how timely the company is going to be. When it's very unfair, but when should investors expect you to provide a complete response to the FDA in order to lift that clinical hold?
Right. So the FDA informed us that they will send a full letter with the explanation of why the clinical hold was put in place within 30 days. So we have to wait for this letter to come. However, what I can say is that it's not obviously possible at this point to put a timeline on approval for clinical trials, but the truth is it never really is, because it's up to the FDA, not up to us. So we have to wait for the full letter to see what needs to be done. Having said that, I wouldn't say we know, but we anticipate what's the real reason for the clinical hold, and we are already working and moving toward the resolution of this main concern of the FDA.
Can you tell me what that main concern is, what the main reason is?
I would prefer not to do it, because we have to wait for the full letter to come. I don't want to speculate. We suspect what it is, but I would prefer to see it in writing.
There's just so many moving parts, isn't it? Because you've got your ducks in a row, you've got the preliminary agreement with the service provider that we anticipated would project manage and supervise the running of the phase 1 clinical trials for the HEMO-CAR-T cell therapy. You're not going to lose that service provider if the clinical trials are kept on hold for a period of time, are you?
Not at all. There is no indication that we're going to lose anyone. No, I don't expect it to happen.
Good. Right. Now, you successfully raised funds in January, and it's very important that we remind people, investors, that you're not AIM listed, you're main market listed. You successfully raised funds in January to take the company through the IND process, which of course is now ongoing, to take you into the beginning of clinical trials for HEMO-CAR-T and to further advance the CBR project, because you're not a one-trick pony. Does the clinical hold materially change your plans now in respect of liquidity and having sufficient funds to complete the phase 1 trials and advance CBR?
Obviously, we are delayed. We are fine in terms of funds right now. We will probably need to spend additional money to go into the clinical trials. So it will change our cash position eventually. But at this point, we are okay. And I would like to emphasize that our company, the strength of our company is our nimbleness, basically. So we are a diversified company, and we have other product candidates that are extremely promising. And for example, our CBR platform that you just mentioned is poised to change the way we fight viral infections. We announced previously that we have data showing that it can work on a wide range of viruses. And so we continue to garner interest in what is a truly novel treatment. And of course, our bispecific antibody is being developed further. That's the antibody that was developed together with Eli Lilly. And it's similarly attracting interest from potential partners.
Okay, that's always very interesting when you talk about potential partners. So Eli Lilly we know about, but potential partnerships in terms of what, tier 1 pharmaceutical companies?
I cannot talk about it right now. In due time, when these partnerships materialize, we'll obviously announce it.
All right. So CBR, one of the other clinical candidates that you and I have referenced briefly, we understand that you've been conducting further tests, yet we've not had any further updates. I'm just wondering, with all the focus on CAR-T, whether it's easy to forget about CBR. How are the tests going? Can we expect an update?
It's not easy to forget about it because we're pushing it forward as hard as we possibly can. We hired several new people, including our first computational biologist, who already proven to be extremely valuable for the company. And we are moving forward with CBR on several fronts. And as we announced earlier, we are doing BSL-3 facility tests of CBR, anticipating to demonstrate that it also works against the real infectious SARS-CoV-2, but SARS-CoV-2 is just a proof of concept at this point. We're working on a number of other viral infections, including such horrible viruses as Ebola and Marburg, and also dengue and Zika and chikungunya. But basically, it looks like CBR may prove to be a universal platform for the development of treatments against existing and emerging viral infections.
You have fans and shareholders that would like more regular updates that are out with the regulatory framework. So what about quarterly interviews with me rather than making me wait a year? Website updates, company social media. Now, I know that you were fed up with Twitter.
You're absolutely right. We have a policy, company policy of how tweets are being released, and only tweets that basically reflect regulatory news are being released. Having said that, we have almost completed video interviews with different people inside the company that we're planning to release, in the very near future. And I would love to have interviews with you more often. But in all honesty, the last year, the year when we were preparing for the IND submission was so intense that I personally simply did not have any time for interviews. Again, we released regularly updates via RNS about our progress toward the IND submission. So I would say that we kept our investors pretty well informed.
But you've just said to me there that you didn't have physically, you didn't have enough time. I know that you've hired a couple more people, but it sounds as though you've got the weight of the world, the weight of the company on your shoulders. So you are founder, chief scientist, chief executive, your mentor, your family guy. And some shareholders have been wondering whether it's worthwhile hiring in a chief executive to take the pen pushing element off your shoulders, or is that still out of the question because I have asked you that question before?
Yeah, I'm the chief executive officer and I'm a co-founder, and I'm planning to stay this way for the foreseeable future.
Right. So the company's been going for 8 years now. I know that sort of from a paperwork point of view, that the paper trail started 10 years ago, but operationally you've been going for 8 years. So what is the outlook for this coming year? Is 2023 going to be as hectic as 2022 was?
Well, I think it's a very exciting time at the company, and we are optimistic as ever. And unlike the market, we don't recoil when faced with the hiccup. Basically, we double down our efforts and power through. That's what we have been doing since we went into operations over 8 years ago, and it's the keystone of our company's values and culture. And I have to also emphasize that for our size and for the amount of investment, we have achieved much more than multiple times bigger and better funded companies that are listed or not listed on NASDAQ or elsewhere.
Okay, so you're nimble, you're robust, you're lean, you referenced other companies there. So how does the company now compare with other companies developing cell therapies?
Well, we will see how does it compare when we go into clinical trials and show the results in people. Again, having said that, you have to keep in mind that companies that are developing cell therapies and CAR-T, for example, they typically 100 times the market value of our company or more. And they typically have at least 100 times, 50 to 100 times more cash in the bank. And being much smaller than they are, we got to the point where some of them never got. So I think we compare favorably with compared to other companies. And again, I think our future is bright, and I'm very, very optimistic about it. And what we're experiencing right now is not the worst time in the history of the company, and we always survived and we always moved forward, and that's precisely what's going to happen now.
So CAR-T, CBR, the SARS virus, there's so many plates are spinning at the moment. And as you mentioned earlier, you don't have, infinite financial resources. So what's the plan in terms of funding, or are you going to be leaning more towards the partnership route?
We are actually talking to several entities, but it's a process. Eventually we'll succeed. I'm not sure who is going to be our partner, one or more than one, and then what, regarding which product candidate, but we will definitely succeed partnering and developing, and getting more resources.
So I'll end the way I started this interview, which is, when would you like the FDA to respond favorably and lift that clinical hold so that you can get cracking again?
I would prefer it to happen tomorrow. But it's not going to happen tomorrow because we're waiting for the full letter. And when the full letter arrives, we will know with much higher precision when we will be able to, to remove this hold, to answer all questions.
Well, really good luck with that. It's been a pleasure. And don't be a stranger. And yes, quarterly interviews, I'd be delighted with that. Dr. Vladislav Sandler, Chief Executive and Founder of Hemogenyx Pharmaceuticals, and for the foreseeable future. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.